Still with us to talk about all of this is our attorney analyst who's on for this hour, Francis Johnson. Francis, thanks so much for being with us. In listening to that, what's your take on who may have been in charge, who may have been the mastermind?
You know, these cults operate in a way that is pretty relevant to this case, in that they look for vulnerable people that they can break. And that means to psychologically manipulate through fear, and in this case, the fear of not being included in this all-important 144,000, the Church of the Firstborn, where people were assessed based on how much light and darkness they have. It's pretty fascinating. It is a story that we hear over and over again about this select group, and that could go in the favor of the defendant if jurors recall other cults and other leaders that preyed on vulnerable people, and include Lori in that group of vulnerable people who have gone to their death behind the kinds of religious notions that Chad Daybell certainly was preaching and teaching as a part of this church.
Yeah, you know, you make a fantastic point, Francis, because I'm like all caught up right now on the whole Waco thing. Like, I've been watching all these documentaries on it, and these Branch Davidians, you know, some of them survived, and they were talking in this documentary, and that's exactly right. They were completely and utterly indoctrinated by this guy, and he groomed them, and he had this skill. He was terrible in school, David Koresh, but he had a skill with people, and he was able to convince them. But here's my question to you, Francis. Yeah, okay, I'm willing to even concede that the idea may have come from Chad, and that might have made a difference if this was a death penalty case, because then that might go to mitigation. But as far as guilt or innocence for this conspiracy, whether she bought into his kooky religion or not, once it went to murder, all bets are off. She's guilty.
Well, you know, in every single religious tradition known to mankind, there is a prohibition, a moral prohibition against killing. And certainly the lives that were lost in this case, 2 children and the former spouse of Chad Daybell are all innocent here. And we gotta remember that. And the jurors have gone back into that deliberation room impressed with their own sense of what is moral, and the law as the judge is giving it to them. And I think that's question number one. You know, regardless of what religious influence you have, when you take it to the level of taking an innocent life, there's got to be some accountability. We'll see if the jury reaches that accountability in this case.
The defense spent a lot of time talking about her being a good mom, that she was not someone who did anything problematic to her children outside of what the state is alleging in this case. And here's a look at what the prosecution said in their rebuttal, because they said, was she a good mom? And this is Rob Wood talking. Was she a good mom when she did all of these different things? How she reacted, how she went to Hawaii. And Rob Wood asked this jury to go back and watch her getting served poolside in Hawaii with the order to produce her children. And he told this jury to watch how she reacts. Now, the jury has seen it, so they'll have it back in the deliberation room if they so choose. Let's take a listen back to that moment.
Hi. How you doing? Hi. Are you Chad and Lori? Please validate and serve. Do you have any questions regarding that? So it is 14:39 hours on January 25th.
Do you need something?
Any questions? You have any questions for that? No? No? Okay. All right, have a nice day. Have a nice day.
Francis, I think that is a pretty damning shrug from Lori Vallow there. What do you think?
It's a shrug that can be heard and felt, because those jurors are going to be saying, what would I be doing if, and how would I respond if I received what she received, which is a notice to produce my own children. And there she is, cavalierly reading through it, and that shrug at the end, I think, is pretty damning. At the same time, when you look at this, people are scratching their head and say, how could a person who was not possessed of something, who is not under control of something, have been, to all accounts, a decent person, have raised these children up to a certain point, and then totally disregarded their life and welfare, and sitting beside her is the person she's now pointing the finger to. And so there are lots of people on the jury and across society who have unresolved trauma, who've seen manipulation, who've experienced it in their own relationships. I don't know if it's enough in this case for a jury to hang their head on a not guilty, but this is pretty damning evidence.
Yeah, no doubt. Are we looking at a woman who thinks her children are somewhere safe? Is that how you would receive the situation? Sitting in Hawaii when folks are looking, police and everyone else looking for your children? Again, it just doesn't pass the smell test.
No.
And you know, when you look at it, Francis, at the end of the day, we heard from her throughout the trial. I think her own words are pretty much damning enough. But this jury is also instructed they can consider omissions of action. And I think this is a perfect example. Her omissions of actions and reactions to this, I think, speak volumes.
There's no way that a mother with the common affections that a mother has, even as we approach Mother's Day weekend, could be sitting beside a pool in Hawaii while her children are not secure. That just screams the kind of guilt and the kind of consciousness of guilt, that shrug at the end. I think as we approach Mother's Day weekend, that's also something that's going to be impressed upon the jurors, just where they sit in the calendar while they examine this evidence and render a decision in this case. Lori has got a long way to go here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Julia, one of the first things the state hit on in their closing argument was that Lori failed to protect her children.
And that you should convict her.